Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Allah the Exalted be upon you all. We have reached the second verse of the first chapter of the Quran, Al-Fatiha, the opening, where Allah the Exalted says, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the compassionate, the merciful. The first name of Allah, and both of these are names of Allah. And as we know in the Quran, Allah gives us many names and attributes. And this is where we hear the names of certain Muslims that we may hear, such as Abdullah, slave of Allah, and Abdur Rahman. We spoke about this in the last verse. So Allah gives two names here. First of them being Ar-Rahman, the compassionate. Now compassion is defined as having feelings towards the person that you are dealing with, or understanding the situation of subjects other than yourself. So when we see that Allah is the compassionate one, His compassion is better and more comforting than any other compassion that we can fathom. It's very important to remember this principle when it comes to names and attributes of Allah, that they are complete and that they are indeficient. They have no room for deficiencies. And mankind is the total opposite, that we are built on deficiencies. So when we say that Allah is compassionate, that whatever He does is built on compassion. We may even see a punishment from Allah, what we may perceive as a punishment, but know and recognize that it is built on compassion, which always or also ties into it wisdom. When Allah the Exalted, understanding that He is compassionate, we know that He Himself, within Himself, compassion is always present within Him. Just as you, as your husband, as a wife, as even a son, what causes you to have mercy on your son or on your wife? That feeling that you have that if I was in their situation, I would want someone to do this. Or you understand where they are coming from. Therefore, you act out in a certain way. So when we see the compassion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Exalted, not to compare Him to the human beings, but for us to understand that His compassion is much greater than ours. But understanding how we have compassion and how it emanates from us, we know that Allah's is much greater than that. So when we see individuals that have been spared their life, or individuals that have lost their life, we should understand that it is from the compassion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Exalted, that takes place. It's very important to understand that all of His names and His attributes are built on compassion. That compassion is a component of all of the names and attributes that are present. So when we see that Allah is Ar-Razzaq, for instance, He is the provider. We see that His provisions are built on compassion. It is built on understanding and full knowledge of every single creature's situation. So someone may be in the middle class and they are striving to be of the high class. But Allah, with His mercy and compassion, did not allow that person to get a raise, for example, or did not allow that person to get the job that they wanted that would have increased their salary. Because due to His infinite knowledge, He knows that that person would have been more destructive to themselves, to their family members, etc. So therefore, His provisions built on compassion was as so that He predestined for this individual to live a certain way, etc. We see this with the animals also, that Allah is compassionate towards them. That even when we see the compassion of a mother bird or a mother lion or any type of animal towards their child, it is from the compassion of Allah and the mercy of Allah that He allows the mother to be compassionate towards that child. At the same time, remember that His compassion is much greater and much wider. The next name of Allah is Ar-Rahim, the merciful. And the merciful can be defined as withholding any harm from the individual, withholding any harm or any wrath. So when we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ar-Rahim, He is the merciful, we see that He withholds any harm that we may perceive from us. So it's very important that we understand that His compassion emanates from that mercy. His compassion emanates from that provisions. His compassion emanates from that being the one that we should trust in. So all of these names and attributes built on compassion, one of them, an action emanating from that, is mercy. So Allah being merciful upon you, brothers and sisters, the fact that you have come into Islam, there could have been a time from the past where you could have lost your life, but Allah having mercy upon you still gave you this opportunity to accept this message, and He knew that this was going to happen. Allah the Exalted having mercy on the individual that came into Islam and was about to leave religion in totality. The individual that was disobedient to people, that had bad manners. But Allah put something in their heart to where they chose this message. Having mercy upon you. Having mercy upon others than you. You coming into Islam. You know that your family members would not or will not like this message. And not like the fact that you have to pray 5 times a day, or the fact that you are changing your attitude, the way that you're living. You're leaving liquor. You're leaving off dating. You're leaving off smoking. You're leaving off taking drugs. You're leaving off being around certain crowds. But Allah's mercy upon you, from His mercy upon you, He takes those people away from you until those people are ready to have a logical or a respectful conversation. Family members have mercy on you, and this is from the mercy of Allah that they do not harm you in a certain way. And if there is something that we perceive as harm, after we become Muslim, our parents are very harsh to us. They may try to embarrass us in front of family members. Know that also from the compassion of Allah, He shows mercy upon you, because it could have been much worse. It could have been much worse. And something may emanate from you, an action from you towards them that will make them think. So as Muslims, we should always remember not to look at the tangible, what is in front of us, but always know the promise of Allah is near. And that Allah, with His compassion and His mercy, will always protect us. As He says in the Quran, that His mercy encompasses everything. So it is you, human beings, and other than us. So when reading this, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, remember the mercy of Allah. Remember the past before you became Muslim, and how Allah with His mercy brought you to this haqq, this truth. Remember that you, being blessed with this message, should have mercy on others that don't understand and still may talk about you and what you're doing. When reciting this verse, remember this, and always know that Allah is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah reward you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you.